Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm. And today we're gonna just be carrying on our series about the chat system. I was gonna do so, the last episode was the last one, so I just decided to do another one just to show some things like changing the color of the text. So what we're gonna be here today, if you guys been following this series so far, what we have here is that once you are in a multiplayer mode, I can come in here and I can type my name, let's say Mario. And in here on the other client, I can type, let's say, Lucy. And let's say if I say, hey, how are you? We can actually reply the message. And then the Lucy can say, yeah, yes, I am very good, thanks. What I want to do now for this video is that I want to make sure that we have the option to change our color here. And the way we're going to be doing this is just by using the /. We're going to type color. And then we're gonna press enter and we're gonna show up like a menu or something that we can actually change our color. Right, so let's start this. So the first thing we're gonna do here, we already have all the logic for this, we just need to add a couple of things here and there. So the chat system, we have a variable system. We're gonna open up the user chat, the chat message actually. And for the chat message, we're gonna add color, right? And we're gonna use the linear. Actually, yes, we're gonna add user color, right? And this is going to be linear color, right? Structure. And we're gonna make sure that's a variable. Save. We could also change the color of the message, but for now, let's just leave it at white. And if you guys wanted, you can replicate that in the future. All right, the next thing we are going to do here, we're gonna close that. By default here, sorry, I'm just gonna give a default color to like blue, right? And I think that's so good. So the default color is blue. Now, before we actually do the implementation, actually I'm just gonna give a color of pink now, just so we can see if that's gonna be working properly. Now, for testing purposes, what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna go back to our chat system, the widgets. And we are going to open up now our messages, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and save everything, right? Open up the messages. Cool. Now we have here our message here. So let's just find where we set the player here, which is being set right there. And right now, if you guys see, we have another one, which is the color. So what I'm gonna do here is, and feel free to like organize this a little bit better, but all I'm gonna do here is just I'm gonna set color and opacity, and I'm not entirely sure if you can actually plug this straight away. Yes, we can't, but we can just make slate color here, and then we can plug this guy there. Right. So now, if we've done everything correctly, we should have pink color on the text. So let's just test here. So I'm going to press enter. As you can see, that's already working. So if I say Mario, for example, and just say, hey, or just type a lot of stuff, then press enter, you already have all that stuff coming up. Now we have an issue here that you see is not formatting properly our message. So let's just go back in here to actually where we display the message, which is if I close that here, we go to the chat box. If you guys remember, we have the what is it? Add message, API add message here. So we add in the system in here. Yes, where do we add the username? There. So the username comes in here. Let me just format this. So that's where we set the username. This is where we display our message, and this is actually where when we add a new message. So if I open up that, yeah, that's a function. So all we gotta do here is really simple. We just gonna do append here, and we're gonna plug this, that, and we're just gonna put the append here. We can even press a space if you want. Now, what it should happen is that if I type something like, I don't know, Mario, that's my name, and I'll just type some stuff. As you can see, it has formatted a little bit better now. Cool. So we have two potential issues, fix it. Now the next thing we're gonna do is actually give the option so the user can type the color, right? Right, so the first thing we need to do, I'm gonna close everything, is on the chat system, on variables, under user chat settings, we have the ID, the username, and I am just gonna add another one, which is gonna be the color, right? And I am gonna add, let's say, just the color again. Actually, is that the same one? Let me just check. How do we call that color on the structure? Is linear color. There you go. So I'm gonna use the same thing here. Linear color. Great. That's so good. Compile and save that. Now the next thing that we need to do is to somehow give an option so the player can actually select which color he wants to put in there, right? So there's a couple of ways you can actually do this. We can do things like you can just do, for example, here we just press play and we just type, for example, /color, and we try to put red, and then we'll actually do something else. Right now we have a problem that's registering that, so we need to find a way to strip /color, right, or anything you want. So to do that, what we're gonna do here is, if you guys remember, on our widget, I'm gonna save everything here. On our chat box, we have a special place that we use to capture a couple of things for the user. And right now this thing is really messy. So let's try to clean this up a little bit. Right, so I'm gonna plug all the stuff here that we need, right? And the first thing that we are going to do here is that we are gonna create enum, right? Where is that? The enum is going to be, what is this widget here? I'm going to go to variables, and what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to create a enum, which is the current state that we have, and depending on the current state we can do some other values in here, like you know, display error messages and things like that, right? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create blueprint enum. Oh, come on here, and I'm gonna call chat state, right? And this is gonna be a chat state. Nice. And we're gonna have two states here. First one is let's say user, let's say missing username, and the next state we're gonna have chat, let's say chat mode, whatever, right? Cool. Now the next thing that we are going to do here on the chat box is that we are going to create a function. Let's go back here, let's create a function, and I'm gonna call this fn check user state. Oh, just check, or let's say validate or user state. Let's put user chat state. Yeah, state, and that's a T. Cool. Now what we need to do next is, oh, that's a capital S, chat state. Yeah. Right, the next thing that we gotta do here is that we're gonna go back to our event graph, and we're gonna just transfer this thing here to this function, right? Plug it in there. And then I'm gonna do here is, in here we do have, yes. So what we can do here is something like, just think if this is going to be actually a good idea. I think they'll be all right. Don't see any issues with this. So what we can do there is just gonna return something like this, right? and we're gonna create a new output, and we're gonna say is required. And one thing that we're gonna do here is make sure it's true that we're gonna make sure it's pure, right? And what happens when you call a pure function is that you don't need to execute the function. You can just call it straight away. So what we can do here is something like this, for example, right? And then I think what we can do is just select. I'm just gonna plug this. That's why I may be thinking this is not ideal, but I'll probably just leave it in there just in case we need to do something else. Now let's see if we can actually clean this thing a little bit better. So right now we require the username, right? And this is start to get a little bit messy. So what we can do here is that we're going to collapse this to a function, and we're going to call fn set username, right? And this is going to be here. Okay, that's collapsed. Then we can open up here. We can even organize a little bit better. It's not required to do a return node, but I always like to add it in that just in case, right? Cool, that's good. Compile and save this stuff. Now the next thing that we're gonna do here is that you see this thing start to get really long. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just move this a little bit like that. And every time we do this, we use the chat, whatever we're going to create. I'm going to promote this to a variable. I'm going to call current chat string or something, right? You can also add this inside a category, but we're just going to do it so we can do like this, for example. So we're going to play here. As you can see, this flow is coming down. So all we can do is just put this chat here. That's fine. The next thing that we need to edit, as you can see, the string is coming up right here. So we can plug also the string right there, delete this stuff. And you can see here the length. Now, the length is being used in multiple places. To be fair, this is fine. No need to change that here. So it's a little bit more cleaner, right? So we have a little bit more of a clean control, I would say. Let me just put here. Let's just align those kind of stuff, which is good. Right, so the next thing that we need to display, as you can see right now, we are displaying like our error messaging here. So what we can do is we can right click, we're gonna add into a function, and we're gonna call fn display error message, right? And this thing needs to be changed because I do want the message to be dynamic. So in this case, I'm gonna copy this, paste it in here. I'm just gonna give a default value of, please type a valid message or whatever, compile and save. Now if I close out those others, we should have this thing right there, right? And if you guys also check in here, we do call a messaging there. So what we can do is just plug this here. There we go. So things are much more tidy, right? And now we can actually work on that thing where we can actually pass the color of the user and all that stuff. Right, so one thing that we need to do now is that once the user is authorized, so I'm just gonna put here like user authorized to use the chat, right? I'm just gonna give a blue color so you guys have a better understanding. So now we need to somehow capture some events in here, which means that we need to create some kind of a function that will handle that for us, right? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna first check all this stuff is working properly, because we do change a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna say hey, yeah, so that as you can see, yes, yeah, that is working. I'm not sure why. That's because when we use 3, okay, we found a validation problem here. So actually this needs to be changed to greater or equal, right? Just because otherwise we're gonna have a problem if, like, for example, that message only had 3 characters and the thing was just going crazy. So if I come in here and type my name and say hey, or key, whatever, and now I can see the message coming back to me, which is really good. Right, so we do know this stuff is working properly. Now let's do that part here. So to do this, I'm gonna actually collapse this whole thing here to a function. Yeah, I'm gonna collapse to a function, and I'm gonna call fn handle user message, right? Plug it in here. You can even comment this if you want, but let's go inside this method, and there we go. Right, so as you can see here, we already have our messages in here, right? So I'm just gonna do a returning here, and the thing that I want to do here right now is to be able to change the chat color. So, but as you can see, what we need to do here is to kind of capture whatever the user is trying to type here. So if I come back in here, I'm just going to give whatever username. If I do color, I need to be able to get this / color into something, right? So what I can do here is I'm going to go back to our variables in here, and I am going to create, actually, I'm going to do a simpler way here. I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call valid CMD, which is commands, stands for commands. I'm going to create a string, and I am going to create this array, right? Make sure it's array. No need to be public. I think we're only going to access inside the chat box anyway. And in here is basically where we're going to define the commands you want. So for example, I'm looking for color, right? And you could do something for, I don't know, let's say you want to change the username or something, right? But in our case, we're just going to do one first, and then you guys can actually implement the other one. Right, so now the next thing that we need to do is that we're going to get the valid CMD, and we are going to do let's say find item, and what we can do here is plug this stuff right there, and we're just gonna try to do a print, and let's see what is going to happen here. Right, let's see if this is gonna work. So we're gonna press play. Cool. Now that's good. Now I am gonna type here, let's say my name, right? And now if I do that, so we have -1. But if you do, let's say, color, it gives me the index of 0, which is really what I want. So now what I'm going to do here, guys, is since that this video got a little bit longer, I'm going to stop right here. And then in the next episode, what we're going to do is that we're going to finish this off, and we're going to actually make so we can change the color of the username. And we can also set the ground here so you guys in the future can create some more commands in here. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I see you guys in the next one.